So, Eli, I want to speak to you because you are with me in this process. I go out for a walk and it is felt as such, just a walk. I become more and more disgusted and outraged of the meaning of what my time has. It feels like a very comfortable evening. And I start to revolt against it because whatever I try to do feels unserious. And I try to dance in front of the corn stalks. And I don't have any power to make it real. I don't have any power to have Sophia and Fotia present. I don't have any power to long for the presence of the Buddha or Christ or any expanded form of understanding. I'm just stuck into a very common present. Okay, so I kind of rebel against this and I managed to understand it as such, to ask myself this question, okay, why do I accept a story of a very ordinary evening? Why should this be a simple evening where nothing happens, where I don't find anything intense and beautiful and significant? So, okay, I continue with words. I try to enter poetry. It's kind of hard, but I find some right motions. Okay, there's a car. So then I reached this point when I sent you the message where, okay, I feel like I could live as if I was with my daughters and with any enlightened beings that I long for, and I could be in the most extraordinary celebration of being. And I kind of taste what it would be like to just be in ecstatic celebration of any aspect of this entire body of life. Okay. And I stay with this longing, this question, which becomes clear in me. And then in the poetry, somehow it becomes configured in me a sort of image that I long for, this divine being that is the world. So it's like every thread of intelligence in the world around me is this divine being that is looking at me. So everything is the light. Everything around me is the light of this being. So actually, she is asking me to provide like a temple to attract in my body forms of fear, like deep human fear. So it's like I prepare this ground for her to come and enlighten the nature of fear. And I try with my bones to create this temple, and then at some point I felt like out of my knees there was these metal steel whips, which were kind of traveling through time and space to find sequences, particles of fear. And it felt like, okay, I just need to collect all forms of such obscure types of experience, so that I create this temple where all fears are welcomed. And it's like a refuge, or like shelter, or hospital maybe. So being with this, so I come to a place where I feel more free to scream, and it feels very conducive to very deep confrontations. And I just stand in the darkness and I say to myself that, okay, you can enter any possible form of experience. What stops you? Where do you want to go? Okay, so I just started saying to myself that, okay, I can travel through any form of darkness. I can pierce through any form of madness. And this was one crucial element, because like these whips that go out of my knees feel like motions of madness. Like I start to scream or to behave in ways that kind of allow me to enter any other type of being or any type of experience. And I have this posture in me, which is like my very core attitude, which is, okay, if my belief, if my wisdom, if my presence, if my spirit is firm and clear, and if my faith is clear, then I shall not fear anything. It's like I could go through any form of madness without any fear that I shall lose myself. Or so this is like a sort of logic that guides me. If I am firm and clear, if my faith is pure, if like the wisdom of being that I aim at is true, then I can travel through any form of madness, and I should travel through any form of madness in order to respond to it within my own constitution. And then, the question is, okay, why to travel through any kind of obscurity of being? And the answer was, because all of the forms of obscurity produce um, our form of life, which is a separated one. So we live in this uh, form of life which makes us separate from one another, because there are all of these forms of obscurity around us that we cannot touch, or we don't know how to move through. We don't know. We're afraid of everything that we are afraid of. So yeah, this was the logic with which I was moving, and I was trying to apply it. So then, okay, I said, what is the one that I want to attack, to enter into? And I really desired to see if it's real what I am, the words, like I'm speaking with these words, that I enter these forms of being. So then I wanted to just test, and okay, can I enter into how Fotia felt, how Fotia feels the experience of me living? And it was quite significant the way I was able to understand how she felt. So just to be able to travel through what I was in her world, because I was kind of her back. I always had her back, like a giant angel. So she was from her birth to 3 years old, I was always with her in the park. So she was like discovering the world with my presence. So then for me to just realize what scale I had in her universe, and then to simply enter, like fully to enter into what would it mean to dislocate my presence from her universe. Like, it felt something like I walk onto this road and then half of the sky just becomes dark, or half of reality around me just becomes nothing. Yeah, something like this. But really trying to feel the immensity of that pain or fear. Okay, so I don't feel like I was able to stay with it as long as I could respond, like to alchemize it in myself, maybe. What I managed to understand was okay, I am dedicated to producing a path of fearlessness. So it's kind of one of my deepest desires, that I wish to produce a tool for fearlessness. And then I thought about Wittgenstein, that he had this, I think it was a woman that he loved, and they were breaking up, and he said, he was like sad because he told her that he was a refuge for her. And it felt like such a deep compassion, that he was aware that he could give her a type of refuge that she would not find anywhere else. And I understand this yeah, I use some of his quotes, like the world that he creates, so living the world on one side, and he creates a world in which there is no tragedy and the feeling of endlessness that is kind of overwhelming. So I'm trying to observe the nature of fear that is kind of in the fiber of how we perceive this immense outside world that kind of crushes us, and maybe we feel lost or alone or insignificant or powerless or whatever. It can be. So even like for me, being in like this dark, obscure landscape is quite like part of the process. Um, so I just have it in me. Like it's not only Wittgenstein, but the Buddha, or even Husserl, that he kind of stands firm in this understanding that there is no possible experience that is not produced within your system of constitution. So it's more like the subconscious processes will always produce the meaning of your experience. So if you have like complete familiarity with all the subconscious processes, somehow there is absolutely nothing that yeah, this is like the fruit of fearlessness, that you can shape the meaning of anything. But shaping the meaning is actually the fact that you can move freely into any logical space in the universe. It's like you're everywhere, so you can be anywhere. You're not bound to a certain configuration. Okay, so I guess it's just purely this gift, and I was walking here with this very clear understanding that actually if I am able to touch this fruit of fearlessness, it was actually because like really together with them, because all of this work that I did in my life to find this fruit was because of our suffering, because I was suffering, because I love them. So then I realized that it's so clear that it's a work that we are doing together, and certainly it's like so clear to me that I wouldn't have reached such understanding without them, especially. And then like this makes it so real that right now, whatever we are doing, whatever I'm doing, it's with them. So it's like I can understand the configuration of our purpose in this existence, or the scale of creation that is happening through us in this existence. Okay, so what is that? Simply this immensely precious tool of fearlessness that because I am so affected by my daughter's suffering, and of course it really relates to you also, because it's you speak a lot about this fear of madness, like fear of losing your mind, which is like, I think when I was asking myself, what is your fear? What is my fear, like my greatest fear now? It's like, okay, I somehow take myself to the edge to become like completely it's like shocking yourself with what you can do. So it's like sort of tasting the edge of sanity. And then you have this firm posture that if faith is clear and pure, you can travel through any form of madness. This is like a misleading term, but one will not be afraid of any form of being or becoming anything. This is kind of the function of a bodhisattva, whatever. So yeah, while trying to figure out how to produce this fruit, this tool for fearlessness, I was thinking, okay, why did I need to create a temple of fear? I was trying to make it real, like to make it as a stable imagination, like the temples of that we already worked on. And then somehow, like how do you call that fruit? Something fell from an oak tree, and it kind of gave me like a little fright. And then I had the taste of the fright, which was like somewhere in the back of my skull. And it was like a grip of something, just maybe the simple experience of little fright. And somehow I wanted to understand what is that, and then it felt like, okay, it's a bit, the intensity of it, it's, then I thought it's okay, it's adrenaline. And when I thought about adrenaline, then I realized, okay, if there is this element of rush, of fear, then that could be precisely the rush of love. And somehow in me, they should be like completely reversible. It's like if I have immense fear, it can become the thrill of love. So it's like thrill of fear and thrill of love. And I was with this, that actually, like fundamentally on an existential level, if the fear is the one that paralyzes our existence, and then it's the same experience that will allow us to be in ecstasy or to fall in love with any aspect of existence. It's kind of the same energy. And then somehow it makes sense. Maybe it's naive. But then I go to this point where I understand, okay, this transmutation thing, it can happen only when one reaches the firm, the very firm realization that there is no stable objective reality. Or then I go again to Wittgenstein, to his like lucid understanding that there is no experience is not the ground for the truth of a sentence, or there is no necessary interpretation of experience. So there is no necessary link between words and objects or life or experience. Okay, so like this type of realization becomes powerful and clear and relevant and like utmost necessary when it's placed in such a complete existential engagement. So it's like I'm facing the darkest thing, or I'm going through the darkest experience. So then if I have, that is the test. Do you really have the realization that there is absolutely no experience that can happen without your sovereignty of deciding its meaning? Like in a profound way, not rational way. I mean, deciding the grounds of faith or deciding whatever. So, yeah, it's like suddenly out of a philosophical, sterile context, you have this tool of, okay, this is one element of the body of this tool. So, yeah, just here it becomes relevant, where you kind of fight the deepest demons. So you go into the most obscure places. And then this is actually the tool. Like this realization is the tool for unlocking any prison. So I guess I will integrate it into the body of this temple of fear. So I don't know. How? Yeah, so this is kind of the nature of my process. This is what I long for, this is what I want. I wish to create something that will give this gift of fearlessness to anyone who is in true need of it. So thank you for being with me in this process, and thank you for making this possible together. Thank you for being able to speak things to you like this. I needed to speak it to you in this way so that it remains somewhere in a clear form. So I'm grateful to be able to share this with you, and yeah, we're together in anything that we do. There is a light worm here. Okay. So see you soon.